since the 1970s. Back then, Saudi Arabia tackled the problem by fulfilling an ambitious dream to become self-sufficient in wheat. And it didn't stop there. The country became a major exporter of the crop, but now it's paying the price of turning the desert green, as Malcom Borthwick reports.
Saudi Arabia used to export wheat all over the world. In the 1980s, the government paid farmers 5 times the market price, so they made hay while the sun shone. Vast tracts of desert were set aside for wheat, and it created much-needed jobs in rural areas. But times have changed. Wheat farming in Saudi Arabia is no longer the lucrative business that it used to be. This farm behind me was abandoned 2 years ago, and tens of thousands of dollars worth of equipment has been left to rust here in the desert. The 2 neighbouring farms have also been abandoned. The price of labour has gone up. The government is no longer paying the generous subsidies that it used to, and crucially, water is scarce. Now farmers here in Ha'il in the north of the kingdom are having to pump deeper for underground water supplies, which are fast diminishing. 4 years ago, this farm bored down 150 metres to access aquifers. Now it's going down 200 metres.
Water rainfall now every year is less. All the farmers here nearby, they are taking water from the well. So the water coming down and down every year. If the condition continue like that, every day, every year we are facing a shortage of water. Maybe in 2015 we are not going to find water in the soil.
And 2015 will be the last year in which Saudi Arabia grows wheat. Production will be phased out gradually over the next 8 years. The government has been discouraging farmers from growing wheat since the 1990s.
We stopped exporting wheat in 1996, and also we reduced the areas planted by wheat since that time, and also the price of wheat has been reduced gradually, and now the price paid by the government to wheat farmers is less than the international price.
These centre pivots, which are used for irrigation, stretch for about 1 kilometre. They water the fields for about 10 hours a day, and in summer up to 60% of the water evaporates before it even reaches the crops, which in this case is alfalfa, a crop commonly used for animal feed. And it's more lucrative for farmers to grow alfalfa now than wheat, but it uses more water.
For the last few years, they have raised the issues of water. So everybody panic. We have to kill all the farmers. I mean, killing them by killing the business of the farming. So they have squeezed, the only tool they have is they have squeezed the wheat. We have to stop the wheat. People start to move into forage, alfalfa, which is used 5 times more water than the wheat. So the argument for the water, it's gone.
Saudi farmers still produce over 2 million tonnes of wheat a year. They bring their wheat to silos like this one in Riyadh. Saudi is expected to start importing wheat again either this year or next for the first time in over 20 years. And farmers are also looking abroad.
In Sudan, they have the water, and they have the land, and they have the people to work. We have the technologies, and we have the know-how how to manage those farms. But it should be Saudi companies, public company, owned, not rent, not leased, but owned with a title, clear-cut titles from the Sudanese government. We get the lands, and we should farm it there.
This is Arabic bread, which is a staple of the Saudi diet. It's just after evening prayers, which is the busiest time of the day here, and the bakers are struggling to keep up. With the rapidly growing population, demand for both water and bread is increasing. Saudi has been forced to choose between whether it wants to grow wheat or conserve water, and it's only a matter of time before these bakers start using more imported wheat.
Malcom Borthwick reporting there. Now, this week Saudi Arabia has said it does not want to set up a sovereign wealth fund, but it does want to set aside more than $5 billion to invest in areas like technology. This is being considered by the Council of Ministers. Now, joining me to discuss this is John Bagel. Vakianakis, chief economist at the Saudi British Bank. John, what is the difference between this fund and a sovereign wealth fund?
Well, I don't think there's a big difference between this fund and a sovereign wealth fund. The difference mainly is that this fund will probably be an inward-looking fund, whereas sovereign wealth funds in the past and today are more outward-looking, so they invest outside.
So why then the fear of calling it a sovereign wealth fund?
Well, I think it has to do very much with the debate that has been going on now for the past several months, whether sovereign wealth funds have an agenda other than the commercial agenda that they have to invest wisely and have a good return on their investments.
So will Saudi Arabia get away with it, as it were? In other words, the world will be open to its money, no questions asked.
Yes, of course, and Saudi Arabia has always been open to the world's capital, and also it has helped capital that has been invested in Saudi Arabia to go outside. It has been having a liberal outflow regime for a very long time.
There aren't many research and development institutions, let's say, in the Arab world. Once again, will there be enough investment opportunities? Is it going to be an investment, or is it going to be more a case of, say, seed capital, venture capital?
I think you have to see this opportunity or this fund as a seed capital fund, very much as a VC fund, venture capital fund. And I think this is the beginning. We still have to wait and see how this is going to take shape and how it's going to develop and what kind of returns we're going to have, the governance of the fund, and how overall the fund will perform in order to be able to see the enlargement of the fund into a fund that is investing outside.
The Levant, the Middle East, are there really enough good investment opportunities?
Enough, no, but they offer opportunities. But one should look beyond that. One should look to the growth that we see in Asia and the long-term prospects of the Asian story. And I think that's where you see a lot
And
of
the chances of this fund being approved by the Council of Ministers?
I think the chances are very, very big, and because there has been a debate in Saudi Arabia about this fund, the government has announced different parts of this fund, and so eventually I think you will see the establishment of the fund.
John Vakianakis, chief economist at the Saudi British Bank, speaking to me earlier. Hard times on Western stock markets mean that the number of companies